Hey everyone, welcome to The Year Was, a podcast all about today. I'm your host Michael Montalvo, and together we take the history train back in time to discover what makes today truly unique. Together we will continue to gather random nuggets of trivia to make you sound smart, or just drop that little fact that makes others stop and say, hey, who invited you? On this episode, we examine the events that occurred today, March 20th. The year was 1813, and on this day, Lady Hester Stanhope set out for the ancient city of Palmyra, where she would become the first Western woman to visit. Born in 1776, she was the eldest child of Charles Stanhope, the third Earl Stanhope, and his wife, Lady Hester Pitt. Her rebellious spirit led her to be sent to live with her grandmother, and then sent to live with her uncle. Now here's where some of the dates start getting fuzzy. Some sources state that at the age of 20, she went to live with her uncle William Pitt the Younger to manage his household and act as his hostess. Other sources say that this occurred somewhere around 1803. She would go on to serve as his private secretary when he was out of office until his death in 1806. Now, upon his death, she received a pension to live on, and this afforded her a comfortable life in England. After living in London for some time, she moved to Wales and then left England for good after the death of her brother, and a thwarted love affair that scandalized the London society. She made the decision to take her inheritance and head east on a long sea voyage, taking with her physician Charles Lewis Myron, her maid Anne Frey, and Michael Bruce, who became her lover. Shipwrecked en route to Rhodes, the party lost their belongings and new clothing was needed. So because of this, she adopted the male Ottoman dress. This, added with a cashmere turban sash and pistols and saber, would become her clothing choice for the rest of her life. And because of this, she was often mistaken for royalty. Now this starts bringing us closer to 1813. She receives a letter from the Pasha of Damascus warning her to veil her face when visiting the Syrian capital or risk the danger of an angry mob. She didn't listen and rode through the gates in full male attire. The crowds went from stunned to cheering, and coffee grounds were thrown in her wake. She was so out of the ordinary that an act that would have normally resulted in lashings brought with it instead delight. Now in Syria, she set her sights on Palmyra. Intoxicated by the thought of being the first woman to reach the ruins, she wrote, "If I had been a man, my love for fame would have been unbounded." And so on March 20th, 1813, she set out. The journey was not easy or cheap, resulting in a week-long trip through desert wastelands, accompanied by, after a hefty fee, and I'm going to pronounce this wrong, 70 Bedouins, who gave her the moniker that she ultimately became known as. "I have been crowned Queen of the Desert. I have nothing to fear. I am the sun, the stars, the pearl, the lion, the light from heaven." According to legend, she was welcomed to the ancient Silk Road by a crowd of young women singing and dancing, who presented her a flower crown at Palmyra's Arch of Triumph. Now, this arch actually stood until 2015, until sadly it was destroyed by the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant. And that is the abridged version of how Lady Hester Stanhope became the first Western woman to visit the ancient city of Palmyra and earned herself the nickname, the Queen of the Desert. When I saw this, I knew it was something that I wanted to let others know about because I thought it was an interesting story. And obviously, I took a lot out of that story in order to really get it condensed into this time frame. But I urge you guys, if you're interested in it, to go look into it because it's actually pretty cool. But speaking of interesting, I do have another story that's a little bit fun. The year was 1930, and a young man took over a Shell filling station on US Route 25 just outside North Corbin, Kentucky. It was here that he first served his fried chicken, although it would take another 10 years for him to perfect the secret blend of 11 herbs and spices that make up the original recipe. That man was Harland Sanders, and after being recommissioned in 1950, became known to the world simply as the Colonel. And on this day, March 20th, in the year 1930, Kentucky Fried Chicken, now known simply as KFC, was founded. And that's all I have today. As always, I want to give a big thanks to the Tim Kreitz Band for our musical theme and Tim Kreitz of Tim Kreitz Adventures for our logo. You can find me at the Apple Cider Club on social media. And thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.